What's going on? It's your man KAHLEE. Welcome to the Status Escalade podcast, my music business show where every other week I speak with a guest and talk about topics that could take an artist and entrepreneur to the next level. From artists and musicians to names behind the scene that help to build a music community a lot of us move in. Also successful entrepreneurs that have little to no experience in the music biz to help show ways to approach your business from a different perspective. From promotional strategy and social media tips to my top 3, we're providing tools and info to help plan and execute your next moves in the music biz. This episode, I talk with my friend, music producer DC from Soulplusmind. I've known DC for about 5 years now. We started working together on my album Blessed. He was already knee-deep in the music licensing, and we've actually had a few placements together. But my dude is constantly pushing to stay on top of his craft and learn the ins and outs of that side of the business. Right now, DC has a music licensing directory available for purchase at soulplusmind.com to help artists get into licensing with a head start. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show. Oh, and before we get into our talk, Farmers Market Hawaii and Status Escalade Podcast are going to give away a prize pack with stickers, music, and a free unreleased Farmers Market hat to one lucky winner who can answer the question, what's the secret sauce? Find the answer in my episode with Keoni Painkillers Payton and go to 310music.net/SEP to enter. We'll announce the winner on our show December 21st. Now let's get to the show.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.
I'm DC from Soulplusmind. How did I get started? I started making music by DJing, actually, I got into music by DJing. From there, I kind of went into producing. Was super sample heavy bass producer. Realized that wasn't really going to make me any money. So I learned to compose and, produce without samples, which led me to music licensing. I kind of produce a little bit of everything now, anything from hip hop, pop, rock, all across the board, score type stuff. And that's kind of where I am now. I've been doing music licensing pretty heavy for about 6-7 years. I've had music on almost every reality TV show under the sun. Power, American Crime, Ray Donovan.
Yeah.
A few other shows and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Ray Donovan, All Access. We got a couple collaborations under our belts together. The Blessed
Challenger
record.
Movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
The Challenger. Shout out to Kent Moran. Uptown Suite. Definitely, hopefully, get Kent on here as well. Got a couple ideas. So, but yeah, man, I know you've been in it for a while, and right now, you got some cool things coming up, and you just been going hard at it. I mean, for anybody who's really interested in seeing what he's got going on, what's the website? Is it soulplusmind.com?
Yep, soulplusmind.com.
This guy is like, and I don't know how up to date you are, but I know if I go on there, it'll be like something that you were placed on like yesterday. So you definitely like the most up to date website, keeping your website up to date, as I know, and it's ridiculous amounts of placements that you've had, man. So that's really cool. As far as the licensing, I think it was tight. I will just do a little background on like how we connected. How did you link with Blame One?
Through Twitter. I think I hit him up, just wanted to work. I mean, that was back when I was still sampling pretty heavily. How long ago was that?
It was a while. It was at least like almost 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. So, I hit him up. We did a couple of tracks together, and that's how we ended up meeting, because he got you on one of the tracks he did for his album.
So it was that CA All Day.
Yep.
And then from there, I mean, from my side, I was just looking for somebody who I felt like was going to be, a dope producer, but also like professional, and somebody who I felt like I could work with, like not just from a beat maker standpoint. So you're very much a producer. If people don't know the difference, there are a lot of differences, but the major one, a lot of times people say they're producers, but all they do is give you like a 30-second loop of a beat or something like that, and you're supposed to take it from there. But my experience with you was definitely, especially at that time, it was like, wow, this is like a breath of fresh air. You know, working with like a professional cat who's dope and who's cool, staying on point, you know, meeting deadlines and all that. So that was really cool. And we just kind of hooked up. We did an album, and from there we went into the placements, and I learned a little bit about it. But like, how did you fall into the licensing?
The licensing, I fell into the licensing it was actually super random. At the time, I was going to school at SIE for audio engineering, and they had, I guess yearly, what used to be Remix Hotel, if anyone's familiar with that. They used to be a magazine, and every year they would do like free conferences in LA and New York. And I was going to school out in New York at the time. And I stumbled on a panel of about music licensing, and that's kind of what got it started. You know, I just said, you know what, I don't know what this is. I'll check this out. The big licensing company at the time that was out there, Pump Audio, was doing. They were part of a panel as well as some music supervisors. So you know, as soon as I left the conference, I went home. I looked up Pump Audio. You know, looked at, you know, what was required to, you know, submit music, and that's kind of where it started. I mean, it was slow going at first. I don't think I saw my first check until like a year and a half later. But you know, I wasn't even taking that as seriously as I probably should have back then. You know, had I known where it would have taken me, I probably could have, you know, hindsight, I probably could have gone a lot further, a lot quicker.
And quicker, yeah. But I mean, I'm doing push-ups every day, and I look in the mirror and I don't see my muscles. You know what I'm saying? So it would be a lot easier if I did, you know, 50 push-ups, and all of a sudden I look buffed, and I'd be like, oh, I'm about to jump and do 50 more. So, but it's very much like planting the seed and watering the seed, and it is, you know, the long game a lot of the times. So once that money started coming in, I would assume by then you stayed on top of it and maybe got a little extra fire under your butt and maybe pushed it a little harder.
Oh, for sure. I mean, after I saw that first check, I was like, shit, you can actually make money off of my music. I mean, I was doing whatever every other producer was, like trying to meet artists, trying to slang beats, you know, doing all that stuff that was pretty much fruitless, you know?
Right.
And because I stumbled across music licensing, I found a way to make money. I mean, I'm not going to say easy, but it's definitely more fruitful. I mean, everything I make has a chance of getting licensed. Nothing I do collects dust.
Right. See,
and, you know, and that's I
think that's something that a lot of producers definitely are not really up on. And I mean, I'm sure some people are perfectionists, man, and that's great. But you got a lot of different sounding beats. To you, they may sound the same. They may be 10 years old. But I mean, your thoughts is like, why waste them? Like, you don't have to waste them, right?
Right. And I mean, that's the crazy thing. Like, part of what I do is, you know, I keep track of everything that gets used, how often it gets used, how much money each beat makes. And there's some beats that, you know, I think are complete garbage that I made, you know, 7 years ago. And they're some of my highest producing, you know, tracks income wise. Right. So you just never know. You never know what's going to fit a TV show. You know, you never know how long that TV show is going to run. You know, it could run for the rest of your life, and you're making money off that track every time that show plays.
What are a couple other things that maybe we should have went and explained a little more what licensing is? Can you explain a little bit, just general, but definitely give a good idea of what it is for the people who maybe have heard the word but don't get it, you know?
Yeah. So music or sync licensing, you know, is how's the best way to put this? It's the use of your music in moving images. So film, TV, I mean, even extends to radio. So it's pretty much just using your music in one form or another in regards to something else, you know, an ad in a TV show, a movie, anything like that. Internet ads, even video games. Yep. Mobile. I mean, even ringtones. You can sell your beats as ringtones, and people will buy that stuff too.
And other ways is like through publishing deals a lot of times, right? Like the people will sign a publishing deal with you and kind of go out and try to get you some licensing placements.
Yeah. So along with me just, trying to reach out to music supervisors, I work with other licensing companies that help pitch my music to different shows, depending on what connections they have. I mean, there's billions and billions of licensing companies. There's some that target just non-commercial stuff. So, your corporate PowerPoint presentation, they need music and they have to pay for music, or even hold music on someone's, company's phones.
Right.
That's music licensing, and that's non-corporate usage, or wedding videos, stuff like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, even like to take it a little different too, everything is licensed. Like when you're buying a shirt at the store with like a comic, Marvel Comics is licensing that to that company. I mean, there's so many ways to look at it, but basically when you're an artist and you're trying to make some money and you can have it placed on anything that you could think plays music, you have an opportunity to possibly be on that through your grind, man, I think.
Right.
But
exactly
the way you paying attention to basically statistics, because that's some tedious work, and that's not for everybody.
No, it's a pain, but I mean that's the only way you're gonna know where your focus should be. If you're a hip hop producer, you should know right off the bat that like reality TV shows are probably your bread and butter. Anything on MTV, anything on VH1, all those Love and Hip Hop. And all the spinoffs from Love and Hip Hop and, Real World and Bad Girls Club, they use tons of hip hop.
Right.
If you're a hip hop producer, those are just a few of the, TV shows you should be going after if licensing's a serious thing for you.
Now how do they go about, well, first of all, we're for the most part talking instrumentals, right?
I mean, it's reality TV shows. Yeah, it's mostly instrumentals. Bad Girls Club, a couple of those other shows use some vocals in them as well. Bigger TV shows, like Power, Ray Donovan, they'll use vocal songs. Anything those drama shows on NBC, ABC, all that stuff, they'll use vocal stuff too. Movies will use vocal stuff. So it's across the board.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways that, like, I guess the music supervisors would more than likely be the ones to find the music a lot of times, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
So what are some of the ways that they may come across it?
So a lot of them, sometimes they'll have personal contacts. They know certain artists, certain sounds. Like I have a few music supervisor contacts with Bad Girls Club, for instance, where he'll say, this season's about this. So if you can come up with something, here's the due date, or they'll, they have connections with music libraries that they trust and can source and dig through their libraries and present music that works for what they're looking for. So, right. It goes both ways.
And just to get an idea, I mean, I was, doing research, listening to a couple other interviews with different people in the field, and I forget the name of the company, but she had a boutique licensing company, which basically she had a small niche licensing company, and she had like 20,000 plus songs to dig through. So these are people possibly going on a website. Well, like you're saying, like everything else, you make contacts and you build rapport with people. And, if you want to look at it like you got the inside scoop, sometimes that's probably exactly what it is. Sometimes you're just possibly one of a few people that they're down with, I would assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of what have I noticed too with licensing companies, they notice what you're doing and what kind of stuff you're getting placed. I mean, they're probably doing exactly what I'm doing, and at a much larger scale. Right. So they have an idea of who to go to. Like I've had occasions where, a music editor, music supervisor has used my music on multiple episodes of a show or multiple shows, and just because they are familiar with my sound and my style and they know it works, they'll go to my stuff first before going to some random,
Yeah, I mean, if you built with somebody, they don't even have to know you, but just the idea that they know they've used your name a few times, it's worked. So of course they're going to go and at least like check your stuff first. Right. So And there's like websites too, right? Like, well, like you said, you started by submitting, right?
Right.
So I've dug through a few of those. It's basically, at least at times, if, say I'm making a movie and I have a scene and, it's like a sex scene, let's say, I'm going to have some kind of idea. I may even have a song in mind, but I know maybe I can't afford it because it's a big name and I have an indie budget. So I'm looking for something like that. Maybe I reach out to some friends or some contacts like yourself that I already know. And while you're doing that, maybe I'm also digging through websites, typing in keywords. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be like through, like you said, keyword searches, and metadata. And metadata is a huge thing, especially with some of the websites. There's some websites where you can reach out to someone and they'll compile a list for you. Right. There's other websites where you actually have to do the searching yourself. So as a composer, artist, how you're describing your track and the keywords and metadata that you're using is extremely important, because, you want to use things that are used on a regular basis, that people could probably, like, any sort of feeling, any sort of emotion, any sort of scene, that those are all things you kind of want to throw in there. Obviously it has to make sense, or else people will stop checking out your stuff, or,
for the same reason that they go to you all the time, they're going to see that you're always lying or your information doesn't match. No one's out there listening to a million songs to try to find. They're zooming in on these categories that they basically, went through a filter on maybe their go-to, sites or whatever. It's basically like a pool of music, right? So, man, yeah, definitely be on point with the metadata, because I would think you could get not blacklisted, but people are just going to stop wasting their time with you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that even goes with submitting music directly to music supervisors. If you're sending MP3s, you want to make sure you have your contact information there. You want to have your writer's information in there, your publisher's information there. Even throw in some keywords if you can in there, and anything you can do to make their lives easier, they will greatly appreciate it. And that will, and a lot of the times they're more willing to use you because you made their lives easier, and they don't have to search an email to find who sent what, and all that stuff. So
convenience. And if, I mean, there's like we said, that small company has 20,000 plus songs, and that's a small company. So these people are digging through multiple contacts and people that they've probably worked with, and that extra little, them saving time or just being easier is just going to be another reason why they should look at you first. I think, how deep were you as far as making beats? Like, how long had you been making beats before you started submitting, or that first time where you went to that website and submitted?
I was probably making beats for about 3 or 4 years.
Right.
I mean, not heavy, I was still trying. I mean, at that point, I was learning to use an MPC. I was trying to learn, software, all that good stuff. So it was a lot of tinkering and experimenting back then.
Yeah, but had you known when you first started, do you feel like you would have jumped on it sooner, even though, looking back at it now, I'm sure you made beats last year. Well, like you said, you make beats yesterday that you probably won't like, but you've grown so much since you first started. But at the same time, I hear some of the beats that they play, and it's not always about like the most amazing technically sound beat. You know what I mean? It's about professional sound and the vibe that they're looking for the most part. So even if you just started, especially these days, everybody who's successful, I guess if that's what you want to say in hip hop, tends to be people who started rapping or making music or just jumped into the art last year. You know what I mean? 2 years is like a vet, it seems like sometimes. So definitely dig into it, you know what I mean? Because you don't need to be in the game waiting for the right, quote unquote, right time before you try to, open up communications with some of these companies, because you're not just submitting music, you are opening up a door. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that was my biggest hindrance back then, is just, you never think you're ready, and one day, I think, along with the music licensing stuff, I just woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm ready. I'm never going to be perfect. This perfection, whatever BS isn't worth it. Just get it out there, improve, let it go, and see what happens. And, I tell producers all the time that I work with in regards to like music licensing stuff, it's not about creating a masterpiece. Those instrumentals are mostly going to be used as background music. So it needs to fit a pace, it needs to fit a scene, it needs to fit an emotion. If you can do that, if you can convey an emotion through your music, that's the goal for music licensing.
So how do you go about it sometimes? Do you ever kind of make a movie in your mind, or, as a couple songs that I've done with you, because we've done a few songs and they've been made available, and a few of them have been picked up, and that's really dope. Some of them are like, I'd say like the main part of that particular scene, like, that Floyd Mayweather rolling up to his gym in his car, and, our song Pedal to the Floor. That was really dope.
Yeah.
And then we had another song placed on Ray Donovan. And honestly, if I didn't know the song, I wouldn't even known that was me, because it was being played in the background. But they played like 2-3 minutes of that song. So, and those had vocals on there. So a lot of times it's just like, again, man, you don't want to, like, in my opinion, even though I have less experience in it, as long as your stuff sounds professional and is professionally, mixed and mastered and everything, I'd say you're ready to get started. That doesn't mean you're at your peak, of course, work towards the specifics. But other than that, start submitting, start learning the game, would you say it's like trial and error?
Yeah. A lot of it's to this day, it's still trial and error. I'm always looking for new companies to work with. I'm always looking for new people to work with. Every few weeks or months, I'm fine tuning an email like that I would send to a music supervisor, because, until you can find what works and what works for certain people and what works for certain things, you should always be reevaluating what you're doing, because that's the only way you're going to grow.
And you can't get too comfortable either, because somebody is, like you're the one out there, and, everybody's, competition isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think you and I are on the same page. A lot of people are definitely on the same page, where it's like, I'm trying to be better than everybody, obviously, but not in a way where I'm not here to help you. Like, it's not about winning or losing, but if it was, it's not like I want to beat somebody because they fell on the ground and they can't continue. I'm like chilling there waiting for them to get up and helping them to go, okay, you ready? All right, let's do this. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know if I'm getting too off track about that, but the idea that we're giving information to try to help people and let them know, it ain't about hoarding that information. It's about putting it out there. And some people, you give them everything they want and need, but they don't do anything. They don't act on it. So what does it matter about the knowledge if you're not going to put it into play? The execution and the action. That's like kind of what this show is about, man. Not giving people excuses, showing them what it's about to make the moves, and not just sit on your butt and complain about other people doing what you feel you can do.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was, you hit that perfectly. That's always been my thing, friendly competition, but also, the whole reason I started bringing more people into the music licensing stuff that I was doing was to show that we don't need to be shady. As music people, we can defy the music industry rules. We don't have to be shady. We can help each other. We can all succeed. We all have different talents, and we can all make money from those talents without stepping on each other.
Yeah, in this particular situation, it's better to have a larger squad anyways, because there's only so much that certain people can do, and you could be the most creative, diverse sounding producer or singer or rapper or whatever. But when you get with somebody else who's just, the same as you in that way, you guys are creating something new, and it's just more and more, opportunities to be placed. And, one placement turns into, who knows, as long as you're on your game, you're able to really multiply opportunities. That's what I found.
Exactly.
Anything you think is helpful, or things that you want to touch on directly about the licensing that I may not know or that we didn't touch on?
Research is your best friend. I go on IMDb, find a TV show you love, look who the music supervisor is, Find out what kind of shows and music they're using. That's the best way to find out who you want to reach out to. I mean, unless you want to waste time just reaching out to everyone, you want to do your research. I can't stress that enough. Like, Google's your best friend. You can find anything and everything you want on Google.
How have you? Oh, is that how you find their? How about some etiquette? Okay, you go on to I'm watching the credits at the end of a show, or a movie or whatever, and I see this company, or possibly learn somehow the music supervisor's name, of a show I think I could do some music for, or maybe I don't even have necessarily a song for that particular situation, but I do have a contact. What's some etiquette to go about? Because believe it or not, some people will be hiding in their bushes. Like, here's my, my mix CD. Remember an episode of Entourage when Saigon stole somebody's car, and when he grabbed the car back, it had his mixtape in there. So, tell the people about some etiquette, some, what they shouldn't be doing, and maybe some ways to find out, their information in the right way, in the right manner.
Right. Man, etiquette. Etiquette is just, it's how you would treat any other person. It's kind of crazy because most of my success has been, I would say about 80% of my success in music licensing has been strictly through email. I mean, even some of the artists I work with, I very rarely talk to them. It's emails, it's text messages, so the one thing you don't want to do when emailing a music supervisor is you don't want to hound him. You don't want to email them beats, songs, and the next day email them back and say, "Did you hear it? Did you hear it?" That's a quick way to get blocked. You don't even really want to follow up with them in regards to stuff like that. There's a lot of the times they're busy.
They'll follow up with you if they like it, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. They'll follow up with you if they like something. It's cool to touch bases with them, but maybe once a month, and maybe only to refresh them with new music.
Right.
And you're like, hope all is well. Like, here's some more music, blah, blah, blah. Most music supervisors don't like emails or MP3s attached to their emails because that'll obviously clog up their box.
Uh-huh.
You want to provide basic information about the songs, whether there's multiple copyright owners, whether you're allowed to be facilitating this without other signers. A big thing for music supervisors, they want to know if something is one stop, which means that they only have to go to one signer to get authorization to use a song.
Yeah, they don't want to find out that I'm giving them a song that I rapped on and I produced, but later on they find out that I actually wrote it with somebody like 5 years ago or something, and now they got to deal with another publishing company or whatever.
Right, exactly. Or your sign, or that song is actually really signed to an exclusive deal with a label.
Right.
That's you want to. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier, convenience. You want to make things as convenient and as easy as possible for them.
I almost forgot about that. Talk about a little bit, because I know all companies are different. You know what I mean? I would assume that if it really came down to it, you could, sign a contract that says, whatever the situation is in exchange for this. And every company has their different ways of doing it, though there may be a standard. I know some companies are exclusive and they want to only work with you, or this particular song is just exclusive to them. Can you go through some of the different options that you may be introduced to in this, because you're not just going to work with one company, I would assume, at least not at first. So how do you kind of go about that?
Right. So the two big things are non-exclusive and exclusive. Non-exclusive companies, you're allowed to send the same music to multiple companies. And what they'll do is they will retitle the song or add some sort of signifier at the end of the song so that they know that song is the song that they place, and they can collect the publishing end from that song.
Right.
On the exclusive side, there's a few ways. There's exclusive. Well, first off, exclusive means you can only submit that one song to that one company.
Right.
But there's lots of different exclusive deals. there's a buyout where they will pretty much buy the rights to the song for X amount of dollars. You lose your copyright of that song, so you no longer own that song, and you will only be able to collect the writer's share.
Now,
and then there.
Go ahead. No. You go ahead. Continue.
Oh, okay. And then there's another exclusive, which is very much like the non-exclusive. But you can only submit to that one company, but you still own the song. But that's, you're just contracted to keep that song within that company for, X amount of years or whatever.
But for the most part, licensing, you own everything. You make this deal and basically say that they could use that for whatever they're using it for. Here's the details on that, but you still own it. So that right?
Yeah. So if it's not a buyout, then you still own the music.
So that's
you're not giving up any rights.
Right. That's not your average. Like a buyout is not your average licensing situation, I would think. But if you're in a situation where you want a buyout, it sounds like it would be a pretty good one.
It depends. I mean, there's some companies that try to take advantage of people that don't know any better, and they're some people are more interested in the instant gratification. So they'll hop in any opportunity to make some money up front, not realizing that they're giving up ownership. And ownership is the most important thing you can have in any sort of intellectual property.
Yeah. I mean, this passive income could possibly be the thing paying you when you're, or paying your children, depending on what you do. I don't know if anybody's heard stories of like Motown back in the day, or just a lot of people back in the day, period, who just really didn't have anything. Cadillac Records, if you've seen that movie, all they had was some nice cars, but they really didn't have money because just the way the things went down, or people didn't own their own masters or own their own music. They basically just got paid for singing, if you want to look at it like that. So just be on top of it. Check people's reputation. I mean, if you go into a new restaurant, you're probably going to Google it or ask a friend how good it is. Like, it really isn't so different. You want to do, like you said, as much research as possible so you have the best idea what you're getting into. What about, what are you with, ASCAP?
Yeah, BMI.
So how'd you go about choosing to go with BMI? Over ASCAP or CSAC or whatever other options may be out there?
I signed up with BMI because back then I could do it online. That's really that is really 100% the only reason why I did it, because it was convenient.
Right.
I think also back then ASCAP was charging writers to sign up.
Right.
So obviously, or I think their stipulations might have been a little stricter than BMI's, but come to find out, I made the right choice because I learned that BMI actually pays better when it comes to film and TV royalties and licensing royalties than ASCAP does.
Yeah, I had a homie back then who guided me towards BMI, and I don't remember why I chose ASCAP, to be honest. I know it was pretty last minute. So that's why I always try to tell my peoples they need to be on that right away. Oh, you're about to do a feature on a song that could possibly get licensed. Now you got to go and handle all that. Who knows how long it's going to take? At least for me, if I'm signing, I'm about to sign some information, I'm going to probably take a couple of days to do it, or at least one good whole day. So yeah, don't wait till the last minute really for anything, especially when it comes to that.
Signing up with a performing rights organization is probably the most important thing you have to do if you want to get into music licensing, because that is going to be a huge amount of your income. And if you're not signed up with one, you're never going to get your royalties.
Right. All right, well, let's get into paying the bills a little bit, and we'll be back with some questions, man. What's up, y'all? I wanted to take a quick minute to tell you about deadstockcloset.com. Dead Closet specializes in vintage gear and accessories of all styles and brands. Shop at deadstockcloset.com and receive your purchase hand-cleaned, ironed, and ready to wear. Use the coupon code SEP at checkout and get 10% off your purchase plus an additional discount on your next one. Deadstockcloset.com. Vintage flyness straight to your doorstep. And of course, if you're an artist looking to gain exposure and grow your fan base, as you should be, go to statusescalate.com. Status Escalate is a PR company whose purpose is to create awareness for you as an artist and expand your brand. Status Escalate has been spreading the word on new up-and-coming artists for years with a strong focus on hip-hop. Go to the contact section at statusescalate.com to discuss a package and rates. Let them know you heard about them through this podcast and get 50% off your first project. Statusescalate.com. And now back to the show.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.
You know, just to say a little more about the podcast, one of the things we definitely want to do is give people, you know, the knowledge. We're dropping bars on people, but at the same time, we want to tell them, give them no excuse to not act. We want to give them all the reasons in the world to get up off their butt and actually do something, you know, because everyone thinks they have the best idea in the world. Everyone thinks they had their ideas stolen by somebody. But really what happened is these people went out and actually, you know, did what they wanted to do. So you have any routines or anything like that you feel really makes not only your life easier, but specifically what you do in music easier?
I mean, one of my biggest things that helped me with music creation and not getting bored or, you know, getting away from all the lulls was I mean, as much as creatives want to be, you know, on the fly, spontaneous, whatever, if you really want to be serious about it and make some money about it, you have to have a routine. But creating a routine and doing the same thing day to day, every week can become monotonous.
Yep.
So what I did is I created a calendar, and every day I have 3 or 4 different things that I do every week. So do stuff with artists, do instrumental stuff. You know, I have a miscellaneous day. I have a submission day. You know, stuff like that. You know, play an instrument a day. But every week alternates the order of it. So I have some routine, but it also helps break the monotony of making an instrumental every Monday. You know, like if you had to make instrumentals every Monday, you'd be like, oh, great, it's Monday. I'm not, you know, then you'll start making excuses, you know, and that was the most helpful way for me to stay on top of it and not get tired of it, but also to help create some structure. Because say, you know, today is an instrumental day, but you have a due date of finishing a song with an artist on, say, Sunday, and it's, you know, quote unquote urgent, but your artist day is Wednesday. You're not gonna drop your instrumental day just to work on this track that someone says is urgent when it probably really isn't. You know, so you can push that to, you're like, okay, well, Wednesday I'll do it. I'll knock it out, you know, done. So that also helps eliminate that sense of urgency for everything. Everyone wants everything to be urgent, you know, but having that kind of schedule helps you refocus and realize that not everything is urgent, or it can be pushed a day or two back.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty brilliant, man. And it's one of those things that it seems like not necessarily everything you said is the most obvious, but the idea of having everything organized in a way where it is your job, you know what I'm saying? And just because it's art doesn't mean you shouldn't have a structure to it, you know? Right. And that miscellaneous day, you know what I mean? That's important. I go on a vacation with my wife and we plan a lot. We go on for a week. We'll get like 4 or 5 things kind of planned possibly, but we make sure we leave time in between for, you know, we want to just sit around all day and not do anything. We want to be spontaneous. We need the cushion for whatever reason. So it's kind of the same thing, because that helps it too. If you got something going on, it could be the most exciting thing ever. You still kind of need a version of a rest day too. You know what I mean? So that's dope. And what about when you do your traveling? Like, do you unplug when you, because I have no clue what you're doing, dude. Yeah. I see, I'm about to go to, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? You know, something this day or whatever. Oh, man, I'm going to be in like the other side of the world on that day. And I'm like, what are you doing on the other side of the world?
I mean, that's the whole reason why I travel. It's my time to unplug and recharge. So, I try to take one big trip a year and go somewhere where I've never been, at least a week, and just completely unplug. You'll know when I'm traveling because the only thing you'll ever see are pictures of where I'm traveling.
Right.
But like I very rarely respond to people unless it's like an urgent music submission and I happen to have a song on hand.
Right.
Those are the things I'll respond to. But anything else, it can wait. One thing I've learned is that if you don't set guidelines for yourself and how you want to interact and deal with yourself as a business, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Right.
And so one big thing for me is that, I learned that, yeah, I want to do music for the rest of my life. And yeah, I want to make tons of money from it, but I'm not going to kill myself doing it.
Right.
I've learned to draw the line in certain things and know that, oh, well, I missed an opportunity, but I'm across the world having the time of my life.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
And if you're really killing yourself, you're not enjoying yourself either.
Exactly.
Like there's a way to enjoy, some people have the idea you do it all right now, you bust your ass, 24/7, 365 and a quarter. And one day that may not even come. That's going to be the day I'm going to kick back and enjoy the fruits of my labor. It's like, there's a way. The other thing I was going to say too is, as somebody who's working with you and now you're my you might even be my go-to. I'm at some licensing company and I'm doing big things and you're somebody who I'm working with. It may suck that I really need something and you're my guy and you're on this trip, but at the same time I know what to expect as well. You're setting up expectations not only for yourself and to make things easier, but also your business relationships, and they're familiar with it. So whether they like it or not, they kind of know what to expect from you. And I think that's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
And most of the time, if an opportunity does come up, I have Wi-Fi or have an opportunity to respond to, a licensing contact.
Yeah.
I'll say, look, sorry, I'm on vacation. At least let them know. I don't, that's the one thing is like, I don't like to leave people hanging.
Yeah.
So especially when it comes to on the business side of things, I'll make it known that I'm on vacation. Sorry, I'm on vacation. This is the best I have that I've already created. Hopefully it works. And a lot of people appreciate that I've taken the time out of my vacation to shoot them an email, even if it's just to apologize that I'm on vacation and I can't send them anything or create anything for them.
That's definitely something that we share that a lot of people don't understand. Just that personal, I don't know what you want to call it, but anybody I work with, it doesn't mean that we're going to be the best friends ever, but there's an opportunity for us to have a personal relationship. And, I'm able to separate the business from personal. That doesn't have to be your thing, but if it's not your thing, it doesn't mean that you're just a robot with these people. I mean, I'm sure that, in the end, your product is what it is. But when my product and your product is both great, but you're like some robot who they know nothing about, and I'm over here just like, we're not talking about our kids or nothing, but it's like, hey, how's it going, man? Oh, you enjoy your vacation? Yeah, just got back. Yo, I made these beats, or whatever. Check these out. There's some kind of like dialogue outside of here's music. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like, that's something, in my opinion, that could be the difference between you getting a placement and someone else getting it who may even be a little better than you, or may have had something that was a little better for that part. But you build with these people, like rapport is more than just giving them what they want, I think.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, you have to know how to, especially in this industry, you have to sell yourself. So you have to know how to speak to people. You have to know how to, pay attention to what they're saying, not just what you want out of a situation.
Yeah.
And that's really what's going to help you in the long run, because people will remember your name. They will go back to you because of that.
Yes. What's some daily obstacles that you deal with and still get your work done, man? You still become what I consider to be successful in what you're doing. And, despite these things.
The 9 to 5 was always a huge thing for me. For the longest time, I came to the realization that for the longest time, every job that I've ever had allowed me to do music stuff while I was at my job because there was enough slow time. Or maybe, maybe it's not even that I was lucky. Maybe it's just that I had the motivation to squeeze as much time as possible into music stuff while I was at work than the regular person would. But either way, I was able to knock out music stuff. And, having a full-time job does suck, but you have to learn to motivate yourself, whether you're tired, whether you're, whatever, to just kind of push through everything and focus on what you want.
I mean, I'm not a fan of my job either, and I do have a regular 9 to 5 job, but I mean, it's a pretty decent paying job. You know what I'm saying? And it's, I'm fortunate to be by myself in my job, and I get to listen to music. I've been at this place for damn near 6 years, and it's arguably the reason why I'm doing this podcast. I got into marketing, when we were working on the Blessed album, I really got into these audio books, these marketing books, and listening to podcasts. All that started at this job. Now, it's not because of the job, but if I had a different job that wouldn't allow me to listen to, my headphones or whatever, then I wouldn't have never learned any of these things, really, because I just had a child and I took 2 weeks off of work. And those 2 weeks, I listen to like 2 podcasts a day. I have my regular podcast. In those 2 weeks, I listened to like half of one of my podcasts. You know what I'm saying? So if I was at home and not at work, I would not be hearing these things. So I'm not going to say, not only does that stuff get me through the day, but I've learned a lot. I've basically, they've paid me to learn about marketing, to learn about podcasting, to learn, make more music. I've written so much music at my job as well, and, things like that. So there is a way. I mean, maybe that you're not as fortunate as us. You and I have been fortunate with our 9 to 5s, but at the same time, there's always something, man. There's always something. But man, what I like to ask people, a lot of times, we get blessings in disguise, a failure that turned out to be a success, but also sometimes successes turn out to be failures, or it's great, I got this opportunity or whatever, but maybe you weren't ready. Do you have one of those, either a failure turned success or success turned to failure?
Man, failure turned success. Let me see here. How can I put this? It's crazy because it was more of a personal failure. Right? It was I had been with an ex for about 5 years, and towards the end of that relationship, everything else, it kind of just turned to shit. So she broke up with me. I was kind of devastated. But the funny thing was that as soon as we broke up, my music skyrocketed.
Huh.
So it was almost like a clearing of energy, of this energy that I was putting into the relationship, ended up moving from that to my music. And I just ended up getting opportunities galore. And that's when things really started skyrocketing for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just goes to show, who you have around you and what you put your energy in can make a huge difference in your life. And that could be, maybe I sound like a huge hippie to a lot of people, but it's the truth. I mean, the only thing that's constant in this world is energy, and the way you create that energy, or you transform that energy. It's around you, and you choose what to do with it.
Man, let me just kind of build on that as well. There's a brother at my job, and I feel bad, but he loves to he doesn't get it. If somebody's walking down the street smiling, this is his word, somebody's walking down the street smiling, which for what he considers to be no reason, how he knows, I don't know. He's driving, he sees a dude smiling. Something's wrong with this guy, he thinks. And we get onto this conversation about positive, just being positive, optimistic. He literally doesn't see how being optimistic helps anything. A situation could be bad. How is me being optimistic about the situation gonna make it better? Just optimism in general. He doesn't get it. Not only does he not get it, he thinks it's stupid. I broke it down to a more literal, like, because he's looking at it like it's magic.
Right.
Like magic, waving my hands in front of him. I'm like, yo. He told me about this salesperson at Fry's, this chick that he liked at Fry's one day. And I'm like, say you go into Fry's fairly often enough for you to always see this girl and her to always see you. One day she's finally like, she's in a good mood. This may be your day to talk to her, but you over here being all angry rather than positive. So she's all perky like, hey, can I help you? And this is your opportunity to be like, oh, yeah, whatever. And just, it's a door. But instead, you're being all negative and it just turns her off. That vibe turns her off. You know what I mean? I think that's an example of what it could really do, man, because you go into your cave, whatever it is, to produce your art, and anything could really guide that. If you're in a certain mood, it may not be the worst thing in the world because there's a lot of emo stuff that does really great. But at the same time, you got to kind of go with the flow a little bit. But you can't fight the current, but you also don't just let the current take you. And I think a lot of times people really lose track of that, man. And it could be something as simple as just, really being on a different mind state. Press reset, meditate if that's your thing, go for a run, whatever your thing is. Or it may be something bigger like, your situation where you really had to get somebody, out of your life. And a lot of times it ain't even about good or bad. It's just about, do you guys really match? And that goes for working relationships as well. So,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge thing, to touch on the working relationship thing. At the beginning, I mean, here's a success that turned failure. I was working with, artists that I thought were going to help me. And I gave tooth and nail to help them create and resurrect, where they were at. And it helped me like move forward in my career as a producer. But in hindsight, it really ended up I ended up putting in way more work than I should have. I let them, push me around more than I should have. And it ended up making me stop working with artists for a couple of years because of that situation. It was just such a bad situation that I just didn't want to have to deal with people's egos anymore.
Yeah, sometimes definitely, again, like, I think people look at it like peanut butter and jelly got to be together. But sometimes people don't just put the jelly on the bread. Some people just put the celery in the peanut butter. You know what I mean? Like, producers do not need an artist. And, you know what I mean? I think it kind of goes back to what you're saying about, enjoying life. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, I mean, I think there is times where it's just like, nah, this situation, you got to kind of buckle down and get through it. Obviously there's more details to it. But if you're not enjoying what you're doing, the money better make sense. It better make up for the time that you went through, to get to that result. With that kind of being said, how do you choose to collab with people? And, do you have any kind of like rules, if, superstitions, whatever you want to call it, like somebody kind of rubs you the wrong way or something, maybe like a sign that you're like, oh, this person right here, I want to, kind of see about this person or something like that.
Going back to my hippie shit, I mean, it's really about energy. Like I can, and this is probably going to come off as the strangest shit ever, but I can feel someone's energy through an email. I just based on how you say things and what you say, I can tell after a few emails whether or not it will be a lasting working relationship or not.
Right.
Like, for instance, if the first question you ask me in your first email is, how much money will I make? you get the buzzer, and I'm going to stop talking to you.
Everyone knows that everyone wants to make money. You know what I mean?
Right.
So don't make that your first question unless you're really willing to like possibly lose this opportunity. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's stupid because it's like, do you go, if you're getting a label deal, do you go to the record label and go, how much money are you going to make me?
Yeah, you better be like a really big name artist at that point.
Right. Exactly.
In which case they'd probably be coming at you with offers anyways.
Exactly. So it's like, so why would you do that in this situation? An opportunity to make money is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to make money, and just that, it's an opportunity. I can't tell you. I don't even know how much I'm going to make per quarter, per whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I can give you estimates of what a TV show will pay out, but will I get you that TV show placement? Will I get myself that TV show placement? That's left to be seen.
A lot of these people really think, just in general, think that everything's a for sure thing. You know, I'm getting into basketball, so of course I'm going to be an NBA player, or I'm a rapper, so I'm going to get girls and gold and stuff. It's like, there's a lot of different things, and I mean, there's millions of people trying to do every career that you're trying to be in, whether it's entertainment or otherwise. But I know what you mean. I mean, I will say sometimes, you know, things could get misunderstood. There are awkward people who aren't able to, you know, give the right vibe. But, you know, things are actually good. I'm one of those people. You know why I think I'm receptive to that is because, or at least acknowledge that I could be wrong about it, is because I'm like that, where people get the wrong idea about how I feel. I joke around so much. If you're working with somebody and they're doing things that you're not into, especially when it comes to a professional relationship, you definitely want to somehow say something, nip that in the bud, because if you create, and it doesn't mean that it's your fault, but you might as well just take responsibility for it. You know what I mean? Extreme ownership over that thing, because you can really create or let some problems happen. This could be somebody that you could have a great working relationship with, but because you were not able to kind of change the relationship at the beginning, now it's become something that you don't want to be a part of. You know? So yeah, I'll definitely say doing that. And I feel the vibes.
Honesty is a huge thing for me. I mean, I've learned to detach myself from my music. If you don't like something, if you want me to change something, if you want to do anything, I'm all for it. I'm open ears about anything, really. I'm down to experiment because I know that my ideas aren't always the best ideas, but I've learned that ideas from multiple sources tend to have a better result than ideas from one source.
Yep. Especially when, you know, that source is something new that you may not have ever been a part of. I'll tell you what, you're probably the first producer that I worked with, up to that point at least, who was down to just, yeah, sure, we'll do this, we'll do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because I couldn't even get other producers to let someone else mix the beat or whatever. I mean, everyone's got their thing, but my point is, man, some people are not easy to work with. Even if you don't want to make a change to a beat or a change to a collaboration you're doing or whatever, that doesn't make it difficult to work with. But there are ways to do things, man. Going back to the etiquette thing. Sometimes, you know, when I'm trying to make a song, I might even just see a movie in my head, or I could create a movie in my head, a character or whatever, and I'm trying to really make this person's theme music. I'm really trying to set the scene in my head as if I'm scoring a movie, you know, and the idea obviously is that this will work good with this kind of movie or this kind of commercial, or even just a regular song that I'm trying to make, you know? So definitely, if you're not into the vibes, I mean, your music has a vibe whether you believe that shit or not. So just know that. And if you're not really being genuine about it, people could feel it. You know, it's like salt's missing from your meal. You don't know what it is sometimes, but you know something's missing. Because I've ate this before, and this is not how it's supposed to taste. So I really feel people know that. When you're not putting yourself into that music, you know, people know something's not right. I was going to ask you how you... you know, again, the execution, man, how you make sure to actually get things done. Because sometimes we want to do this, we want to do that, we don't do it. But the way you map out your weeks and the way you know, the adding that rotation of days to where, you know, Monday of last week was this, but now Monday is this, you know, it really switches it up. that really helps you get things done.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, part of it too is that, everyone, I'm not going to say everyone, a lot of creative people like to make the excuse that, I'm not feeling it today, so I'm not going to work on something. Like to me, that's kind of the lamest excuse you could make.
I do it all the time.
It's a cop-out.
You know what I try to do? What I try to do as far as writing, because unfortunately for me, it's not a switch, man. Some people, it's a switch. They turn it on 10 minutes, Uptown Suite. 10 minutes later, he's done with a great verse. You know what I mean? Or even a great song.
But that's the thing. Like, at least you're trying. Like, right. I feel like a lot of people will just be, and that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's a good day or not, you do it.
Yeah.
Because then you train yourself. Not only are you training yourself to be consistent, you're training yourself, to hopefully at some point get to a point where you can turn it on and off, whether, it takes you an hour to turn it on or 5 minutes to turn it on. Like, you want to get somewhere to a point where you have control of your situation. It's not left up to some magic in the air or, anything like that. You have the ability to, on a deadline, make it work. And to add to that, I actually got this idea from, I think it was Jerry Seinfeld. He was talking about this. He used to, and this is how I started doing it, but now there's actually apps for this. I used to have this giant year calendar that I would hang in my studio. And every day that I worked on music, I would mark an X on that day. So after a couple weeks, after a couple months, you see this huge chain of X's, and it motivates you not to break a day. And so if you can get through, a year or, whatever, and that whole calendar is full of X's, then, it's just it creates something within you to keep you motivated to keep creating.
Yeah, that's really dope, man. Writing down anything in general. Do you write down, like, you have like a whiteboard or something that you write down your goals on, things you need to do?
Yeah. So I have a whiteboard that I have quarterly and yearly goals on. But also I started writing in notepads, and I have notepads and now I'm starting to keep track of how many things I submit per quarter, how many, beats I make per quarter, how many songs I finish with artists per quarter, just stuff like that. And then I can really track it and really see what I'm spending the most time on.
Right. And what's, what it's become too, right? Like you really spent a lot of time on this, and then you're also following, your returns, your placements, and everything like that. So you could really see from beginning to end, the fruits of your labor, so to speak. So that's
right.
That's really dope, man. Man, I want to get into this thing. I call it the top 3. And what it is a do, a don't, and a must-have. So a do and don't and a must-have to you being successful. And that must-have could be anything. That must-have could be a bike, because you're going to ride on a bike and clearing your head. Or it could be, the Bible. You know what I'm saying? It could be whatever, man. Yeah, do's and don't, do, a don't, and a must-have.
Let's see. I would say a big do for me is to, constantly be reading, constantly be learning. I set aside a half an hour to 45 minutes every morning to read. And I don't, I read anything from business books to spiritual books to music books, theory, whatever. You always want to learn. You always want to experiment. Even for me, like, I will, if there's free panels here in LA or anywhere, regardless of what it is, I've gone and sat at fashion panels, just because you never know. Like, my big thing is taking things that work in other industries and applying them to your industry.
Yeah, that's what the show is about, man. Like, you're in music, we're talking about music, but I'm definitely going to be bringing in people who are successful in their own fields that have nothing to do with entertainment and really try to apply that, just like how you said. You know what I mean? I think that's great if you have that tool to be able to do that.
Right.
What's an example of do you have any examples of some things that you've learned from non-music fields and have been able to apply that to music or something like that?
I mean, I think mostly it's the workflow stuff. You know,
Right.
it's some of the stuff I explained before. Just that's I can't think of anything off the top of my head exactly. I don't.
Oh, wait. So, can you give me a couple, since you're really into books, could you give me a book that you think everybody should read? Every artist at least, or, and the reason why, you think this particular book could really maybe help somebody or something like that.
There's a couple. So my favorite book is The Alchemist.
Oh.
And that book was the sole reason I am following my dreams of music.
Wow.
The Alchemist was the reason why I decided to move to New York and go to audio engineering school.
Really?
So that book I probably read maybe once a year, once every other year, just to kind of read it again. I mean, I know what's going to happen in the book, but it's about following your personal legend is what they call it in the book. And you're going to find bumps in the road. You're going to find obstacles. But as long as you're passionate about fulfilling your personal legend, the universe is there and it's going to help you.
Yeah, you will do it. You will find a way. Ask the right questions and you will find the right answers, man.
Yeah, not even just ask the right questions, but, like you said before, be open to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, had I not been curious about music licensing and this music licensing panel, however many years ago, where would I be now? I'd probably still be trying to sell beats to major label artists. You're still sampling,
you'd be
in
my Twitter DM like, "Hey fam,
hey fam, I got beats.
Hey fam, I got them $5 beat, 5 beats for $10. Serious inquiries only." Don't sell 5 beats for $10 and they say serious inquiries only, by the way. But anyways, and they fire. Don't use a fire emoji.
Remind me to touch on that as a don't or later on.
No, well let's get into your don't then, because I took you for a detour.
Don't be asses like that. Like don't be non-professional. Don't not even that. Just don't sell yourself short. Know what your value is and know what your worth is. I tell producers this all the time, and it's no disrespect to artists, but producers can still make money without an artist.
Right.
Artists will have a very, very hard time making money without music.
Talking about like musician, like a singer or
like a singer or a rapper or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So know what your value is. Know what you are willing to do for someone, and know that your worth is probably more than you expect it to be.
Definitely don't shortchange yourself.
Yeah.
And to go back on to a lot of it, because there is a thin line between grinding and really getting out there and perseverance and be persistent. I've had people tell me, just be persistent. If I don't answer your call, just hit me back again because I'll be busy. I'm like, I will do that. I have no problem doing that. But keep in mind, there's a thin line between being persistent and being a stalker.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not going to mistake that, but you might. I'm not going to be in your bushes all scratched up, but if I call you, 3 times a week, like you said, don't get mad at me. But also, I heard this brother, man, I forgot his last name, Tim Trudeau. I forget the name of his company. He used to be the owner of Syntax Records. Now he runs a distribution company. Cool dude. And also, his words were like, don't don't speak to some just because it's the internet, just because it's Twitter, just because it's hip hop or a different style of music that may be a little more casual. Whatever the situation is, the pressure might be to be like, "Hey, what's up? Yeah, I got these beats. Whatever the case is." That doesn't mean that. Do you just walk up to random people on the street and be like, "Yo, what's up, man? Yo, you got that fire, son? Because I make these beats." Like, speak to people with respect. Go ahead and be professional. You don't have to be suit and tie professional, but I mean, speak to people the way in a sense, the way you speak to them in person. You know what I mean? And don't let the, if you want to call it peer pressure of being in a casual work environment, be the reason why you come off unprofessional to somebody who could change your life. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing wrong with hitting people up online. They're on Facebook or Twitter for a reason. You tweet at them and they get back to you. Great. Now you got, that's a spark. Start watering that seed and see where it takes you. But don't hit up somebody 100 times. Say, "Yo, you hear that song? Yo, you hear that song? Oh, okay, you didn't hear that song? Oh, I see how it is. You must be too busy. Now you're being a jerk." So definitely don't do that and just take it slow.
Don't be disrespectful. That's a huge thing.
Pretty simple, actually.
Yep.
Anyways, okay, and then your must-have.
Must-have traveling. I must have traveling. I have to, and I think I can thank my parents for that. They instilled that in my brain at a young age. When we were growing up, vacation was huge to them, and it's huge to me now. Soak up that culture. There's so much you don't know. There's so much you've never experienced. Get out there, experience it. You never know what's going to inspire you.
Yeah.
You could be running down some rundown street in the middle of some country you never thought you would be, and you could just hit the spark of inspiration that could change your life.
Yes. And let's keep it real. I mean, if you're listening to this show, chances are you're an artist. And no matter what art that is, living life is the life, I feel like the life that you, what's the word I'm looking at? Contribute to, the life that you're a part of, the life that you create. That's what comes out in your art. I mean, if you're not living life, then your art is probably going to be kind of bland. Maybe your first musical piece or your first your first masterpiece is going to be great because that's all the things that that's your whole life up to that point. But now you're done. Now what are you going to do? Go live life. Go make some art based off of, you're traveling. And I'll say another thing too, because I've met a lot of people from different places, and sometimes you're at this party, and I'm not really a party person. I like to be able to hang out in a party atmosphere, but when you're at a mixer, you don't really know people. Sometimes that little thing that you met, kind of like you seen on the other side of the world, could be that one thing that you really identify with another person, and that's the reason why it could just be another person that you become great friends with, or it could be a business connection, or it could be somebody who's important that could really take your business to the next level. And also, you could do something for them as well. And that one, spark could be, again, like the difference, man. Everything could be a life changer if you look at it the right way. So I think you looking at it the right way. I definitely agree with that traveling. I think it's dope. Where are some of the places you've been?
Egypt, Iceland. I'll be going to Greece in a couple weeks.
Ooh.
I just came back from Costa Rica, Italy, London, Paris, bunch of places here in the U.S., Mexico.
Nice.
Some of the Caribbean islands, Canada, Philippines, Vietnam.
That's dope, man. And you're Filipino, right?
Correct.
Right. That's dope. You said you were born in Hawaii?
Born in Hawaii, yes, sir.
Tight. Now I'm Hawaiian and Mexican, shout out. Nah, but man, it's really dope. I agree, man, that learning that culture, learning the way of the world, and just meeting people from different backgrounds and everything is really good for the soul. Because everybody's giving something to the world, and where everything that we give is a piece of what we've been given. You know what I mean? So the more places you go, the more we're being blessed with. So we could really kind of spread the love, spread the positivity, spread the vibes just in general, better in that way, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And to go along with it, to touch again on the traveling stuff, it's twofold, really. You know, you learn cultures, you learn how other people live their lives, but you're also, especially in non-English speaking countries, you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation where you're forced to be quick and learn to adapt to situations that you don't necessarily have the greatest ability of communicating in.
Yeah.
So that really helps train your brain to look at things, look at problems in different ways, and try to figure out different solutions.
Right. That's, man, it's some interesting situations that we run into on a daily, just, you know, a few cities away from where we grew up. Imagine if you go to another country, imagine if you go here, you know, it's, man, just open up your mind. I think a lot of this episode has been about opening up your mind to really allowing the change to happen and being a part of that, man. So, man, I just want to hit you with one last thing, and then, you know, I'll let you go. It's been fun. One of the dopest things about hosting this show, or just hosting podcasts in general, is I get to learn about, you know, people, in this case, a friend, and at the same time, you know, things that are helping me. Like, I really don't care about the listeners. I'm just trying to learn something for myself. Nah, I'm just kidding, man. I think a lot of people really got some great points out of this talk, man. So I'm really happy. Give the people like a motto that you live by, or, you know, words to live by. You know what I'm saying? Give something nice. Give them something nice and sexy, if possible. Nah, give the people some words to live by.
Words to live by. I mean, I would just say that just do what is that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of naysayers. Don't be afraid. Don't get discouraged when people don't believe in what you believe in. I mean, the most important thing is that you believe that what you're doing is what you want to do. You're not living your life for other people. You're living life for yourself.
Yes.
I mean, if that situation, if I didn't listen to that, I wouldn't be doing music. So many people have told me coming through it, you know, you can't make money. It's such a hard, you know, career. You know, how are you going to make money? How are you going to do this? There's only a few percentage of people that are really successful, you know, and if that were, if I listened to all those people, I wouldn't be here right now.
Yes, I feel you, man. Stick with that passion. Don't let nobody tell you anything otherwise, because in the end, man, it's about you and what you tell yourself. You know, it's not easy sometimes, especially when you're creating art, but the idea of art is that people can interpret it in their own ways. You know what I'm saying? It's an opinion. So your opinion probably should count the most. That's how I feel about your own art. So, man, that's great, dude. You know, we're recording this early and we're releasing it a little late, but you're going to be at A3C, or you were at A3C. Can you say a few things about what you're going to be doing at A3C?
I will be speaking actually on a panel at A3C about music licensing and publishing.
Dope. A3C is all three coasts. I believe that's what it stands for. Really dope hip hop festival in is it Atlanta?
Atlanta.
I can't wait to make it out. I know my hip hop house family have a stage out there, so hopefully next year I'll be rocking that. But I'm sure you did amazing. Matter of fact, great job. I heard it was great. I guess we've reached the end, man. Why don't you plug whatever things you have coming up, anywhere people can catch you, you know, just whatever information you want to put out there so that people could get in contact with you. I know you have your music licensing directory, if you could talk about that, and we'll get up out of here, man.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, you can connect with me on Twitter and Instagram, DC Soulplusmind, website soulplusmind.com. I have a music licensing directory that I put out a few months ago with about 250 plus music licensing companies. It's a lifetime subscription, so anytime I update the directory, you get access to the new version. And as well as that is that you have a specialized email that you can email me at with any of your questions, concerns, reach out to me, anything. That whole email is there for me to be completely 100% transparent. Nice. So if you want to just straight up ask me what companies work for me, I'll tell you, but that comes with buying the music licensing directory.
Yes. You're not just buying a bunch of information that's amazing for you to have, but you're also getting a little bit of access to this man right here. And where do we get that from?
My website, Soulplusmind.com.
Soulplusmind.com. Now, I vouch for this brother. We've done a lot of work together. Really great dude. Really great information, man. You've really blessed the people today. I know there's a lot of folks who have asked me ever since my first placement with you. I've been asked so many times how to do this, how to do that. And I think you've really gave people a head start. And with this music licensing directory and having access, to be able to ask you questions and things like that, I think that's great, man. I think you're really giving people the opportunity to get up off their butts and make some money off the things that they love, just like we do, man. So that's great. So anything else? Any last words before we get up out of here?
Appreciate you having me on here. Yeah, that's it.
All right, man. Well, I guess we're going to be out of here, dude. This is my man, Soulplusmind. My name is KAHLEE, man. We out. Status Escalade Podcast. Peace to the colleagues. And that's another one down. Enough respect to my man DC of Soulplusmind for a great talk and a lot of insight on how to get your music licensed and make money off your art. If you missed anything, be sure to check the show notes at 310music.net/SEP for all links and details of the things that we discussed in this episode, including how to find and contact our guests, purchase his music licensing directory, and his top 3. Please visit platformcollection.com for other great shows on the network like the 2Mex Hologram Podcast, Really Though with my man Cookbook at LA Symphony, the Crappy Awesome Podcast with Mr. Arash and Kill C. Ray, my other show, Proof of Life Radio, and more on platformcollection.com. Also want to say thanks to our sponsors, Deadstock Closet. Deadstock Closet specializes in vintage gear and accessories of all styles and brands. Shop at deadstockcloset.com and receive your purchase ironed, hand cleaned, and ready to wear. Use the coupon code SEP at checkout and get 10% off your purchase plus an additional discount on your next one. Deadstockcloset.com. Vintage flyness straight to your doorstep. And as always, thanks to statusescalade.com. Status Escalade is a PR company whose purpose is to create awareness for you as an artist and expand your brand. Status Escalade has been spreading the word on new up-and-coming artists for years with a strong focus on hip-hop. Go to the contact section at statusescalade.com to discuss packages and rates and let them know you heard about them through our podcast to get 50% off their first project. I definitely vouch for Mr. Escalante's work at statusescalade.com. He's got me a lot of great press, interviews, and placements, as well as connecting my music with a lot of dope DJs and influencers all over. So, he's really dope and plus super affordable. So check him out and see what he could do for you. I think that's it, man. Check me next Wednesday with a new guest and more info to help you progress and move forward in this business, man. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show. And remember, you can plan for success, but you can't reach it without execution. Catch you on the next one. Peace to the colleagues.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.